Good morning. Welcome everyone here. I call to order the 10th public meeting of calendar year 2015. And as you know, this is the last public meeting before Memorial Day, and we are having a Memorial Day observance, so I ask that everyone stays afterwards. And before I call on for our Pledge of Allegiance, I just want to thank, there's a few people that have come today to see me preside in my first meeting as chairman, and I want to thank them. I know I have two nieces in the back there, Christine Wooding and Shelley Scott, if you want to stand up quickly. And I know I also have some sorority sisters that are here today from Epsilon Sigma Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. If you want to stand today. Thank you. And of course, our own Cheryl Walker Davis is also a member. I've extended some invitations to some other family and friends, so hopefully they will come out and join us for the open house. But as we move forward, I will call up our own Robert Bingaman, who is part of the PUC staff and a U.S. Navy veteran who will lead us today in our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I also wanted to take this time, as you know, it's been a little over a week since the train derailment in Philadelphia. So I just wanted to offer our deepest condolences to the family of the 8 passengers who were killed in Amtrak train 188. And we also know that we have over 200 persons that were injured, so we do offer our strength and comfort to those families and to those injured persons at this time. We want to sincerely thank the emergency crews and the medical teams and others in Philadelphia who did run to this accident and offer all types of aid and assistance. As you know, here at the PUC, we are in a supportive role in terms of rail safety, and we also had staff that went there in Philadelphia as well. We want to thank them for all of their assistance. And we are looking forward to learning the lessons that came out of this accident so that we can carry forward safety in rail travel here, not only in Pennsylvania, but also in the country. So thank you. At this time, I know we have the first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. And I know our editor is Commissioner Colley, so I recognize him.
Thank you, Chairman. I have reviewed the minutes of April 23rd and move that they be adopted as recommended.
Second.
Commissioner Colley has moved that the minutes of April 23rd be adopted with a second from Vice Chairman Coleman. Is there any discussion? Any objections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0. At this time, we will call up Cheryl Walker Davis, our Director of Office of Special Assistance, to present to us the recommendations of staff.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
May it please the Commission, on behalf of your various offices and bureaus, we present for your consideration and disposition the following agenda items. Commencing this morning with matters on behalf of the Bureau of Audits, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation to release the audit report with regard to PECO Energy Company's consumer education costs for certain 12-month periods.
Do we have a motion to accept the recommendation of staff?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Vice Chairman Coleman to accept the staff recommendation with a second by Commissioner Whitmer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Continuing with the presentation of agenda items and matters on behalf of the Bureau of Consumer Services, appearing on page 2 of the public meeting agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation with regard to the First Energy Company Universal Service and Energy Conservation Plan and the recommendation to release a final order with regard thereto.
Do we have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Powson with a second by Vice Chairman Coleman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, commencing on page 3 of the public meeting agenda with the UGI Utilities, Inc. recommendation at the top. It is recommended in omnibus fashion that the Commission adopt all items appearing on pages 3 and 4, 5, and 6, through and including the recommendation with regard to the Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement's motion for default judgment in the proceeding involving Ground Courier, Inc.
So I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Whitmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Powson. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
At the top of page 7, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation with regard to the joint petition for approval of interconnection agreement in the proceeding involving the Frontier Communications Companies and American Broadband and Telecommunications Company, noting the statement of Chairman Brown.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
I move.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Colley with a second by Commissioner Whitmer. Any discussion? I will state for the record that I will be recusing myself from this vote. As you know, I have a brother that works for Frontier Communications, and I will submit my statement for the record. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with the recusal of the chair.
Continuing with matters on behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the remaining 3 items on page 7, as well as the item appearing on page 8 with regard to the joint petition for approval of interconnection agreement of the United Telephone Company of Pennsylvania, DBA CenturyLink, and New Singular PCS LLC.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Powson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Coleman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Bureau of Technical Utility Services, commencing on page 9, again in omnibus fashion, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the items commencing with the recommendation with regard to the approval of the vendor selection within the proceeding involving the RFP for the PA Universal Service Fund external auditor, continuing with the remaining items on page 9, as well as all items appearing on pages 10, and the first 4 items through and including the recommendation with regard to Ramsey Moving Systems LLC rate increase application on page 11.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It was moved by Commissioner Colley with a second by Commissioner Whitmer. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the staff recommendation with regard to the release of the quarterly earnings report, noting the oral statement of Commissioner Colley.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chairman Coleman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion? I recognize Commissioner Colley.
Thank you, Chairman. I have consistently voted no on these quarterly reports because I thought the rate of return on equity for the electric distribution company distribution system improvement charge was too high. This report lowers that ROE marginally, but it's in the right direction. But because I think it better reflects discounted cash flow and capital asset pricing model analysis, I am going to vote this time in favor of the quarterly report. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? The motion passes 5-0.
Turning now to matters presented on behalf of the Law Bureau, appearing on page 12 of the public meeting agenda, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the Law Bureau's recommendation with regard to the first item pertaining to the petition for declaratory order involving the Borough of Phoenixville.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Whitmer to accept staff recommendation with a second by Vice Chairman Coleman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
It is recommended that the Commission adopt the Law Bureau's recommendation in the proceeding involving the petition for reconsideration of the Commission's interlocutory review order pertaining to the Lyft, Inc. request to treat certain information as proprietary and protected from disclosure, noting the joint statement of Commissioners Colley and Whitmer.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Powelson to accept the staff recommendation with a second by Vice Chairman Coleman. Any discussion? I recognize Commissioner Whitmer for the joint statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like our statement entered into the record as if I had read it in its entirety. Before the Commission is the petition for reconsideration and supersedious regarding proprietary information claims made by Lyft Incorporated. The petition was filed following the Commission's denial of Lyft's petition for interlocutory review, where the Commission determined that the trip data at issue was not proprietary information and therefore was subject to disclosure. The petition before us today was opposed by Kim Lyons and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, entities, it is important to note, that are not parties to this proceeding. The Commission's action today denies Lyft's petition, unsealing the record and making Lyft's aggregate trip data publicly available. We disagree with the majority's conclusion that aggregate trip data provided by Lyft in Allegheny County should be publicly disclosed. We base our dissent on our regulations regarding the treatment of proprietary information, which state in part that a petition for protective order to limit the disclosure of a trade secret or other confidential information on the public record will be granted only when a party demonstrates that the potential harm to the party of providing the information would be substantial, and that the harm to the party, if the information is disclosed without restriction, outweighs the public's interest in free and open access to the administrative hearing process. Here, the sole factual information at issue involves the aggregate number of rides Lyft provided in Allegheny County during specific designated time periods. While we agree that the information at issue does not include certain nuances, we believe that publicly disclosing the aggregate number of rides given by Lyft in Allegheny County at certain time intervals is confidential and will allow Lyft's competitors to gain information that can and will most likely be used to substantially harm Lyft in its operations in the future. The interpretation was confirmed by two of our administrative law judges in a companion complaint proceeding regarding this very issue. In fact, an interim protective order has been granted in the aforementioned complaint proceeding. The findings of ALJs Long and Watson, issued in December of last year, are particularly compelling in our consideration of this matter. ALJs Long and Watson stated in pertinent part, "We find that Lyft's position that it will suffer competitive disadvantage, that the information is developed at a cost, and that the information has value to Lyft's competitors is supported by Mr. Akpaku's affidavit. Further, it is now clear that the information is not generally shared by transportation network companies." All of these factors, both individually and collectively, illustrate why Lyft has met its burden to show that the trip data in question is proprietary in nature and should be afforded confidential treatment under a protective order, as we do for other proprietary information, even when amassed in the aggregate, that would be of value to a company's competitors and whose disclosure would substantially harm a company. Unfortunately, as a result of today's decision, this information is set to be made public. At this juncture, we believe that the Commission should have erred on the side of caution and properly protect this information that Lyft seeks to be treated as confidential under our regulations. Had the Commission chosen to grant Lyft's protective orders, parties to the case would still have had access to the information in accordance with the properly executed confidentiality disclosure agreement. Doing so would have balanced the interests of all parties to this case. For these reasons, we dissent.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the staff recommendation say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
The motion passes 3-2 with noting the dissent of Commissioners Cawley and Whitmer.
It is recommended that the commission adopt the Law Bureau recommendation appearing at the bottom of page 12 with regard to the request for temporary waivers involving PPL Electric Utilities Corporation and the 3 business day off-cycle switch when residential or small commercial customers seek to change electric suppliers.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chairman Coleman and a second by Commissioner Powson. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
That concludes the presentation of regular agenda items. Turning now to the carry-in agenda. On behalf of the Office of Special Assistance, it is recommended that the Commission adopt the recommendation in the proceeding involving the petition for reconsideration of PPL Electric Utilities Corporation's Energy Efficiency and Conservation Plan.
Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation?
So moved.
I'm hearing out of my left ear the motion of Commissioner Cawley. Do I have a second?
Second.
I hear out of my right ear the second by Commissioner Whitmer. We will get this.
Just trying to help you out.
That's right. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 5-0.
And finally, we have the motion of Vice Chairman Coleman with regard to the joint petition of Verizon Pennsylvania LLC and Verizon North LLC to reclassify certain of its exchanges as competitive. Noting the statements of your statement, Madam Chairman, as well as the statement of Commissioner Cawley.
Do I have obviously the motion is from Vice Chairman Coleman. And do I have a second to the motion? We have a second by Commissioner Powson. And I will recognize Commissioner Cawley for discussion.
Consistent with my dissent in the original order in the Verizon reclassification case, I dissent to the Vice Chairman's motion and ask simply that my lengthy dissent be placed in the record.
Let me apologize and step back. I made my first mistake of the day. So I needed to call on Vice Chairman Coleman for his motion. So I will do that.
Thank you, Chairman. And I would just ask that my motion be entered into the record as though I had read it in its entirety. By opinion and order entered on March 4, 2015, the Commission reclassified standalone basic local telephone service as competitive in 153 of 194 wire centers for which Verizon Pennsylvania and Verizon North sought competitive status. The Commission, in its reclassification order, also granted a waiver of certain Chapter 63 and Chapter 64 regulations in competitive wire centers. The waiver is applicable to both the Verizon companies and competitive local exchange carriers operating in these wire centers. Chapter 30 of the Public Utility Code is clear that the primary impact of the competitive status is, one, that Verizon may price the service at its discretion, and two, Verizon may maintain a price list of a competitive service rather than maintaining a commission-approved tariff. In the absence of a tariff, Verizon's product guide will be governing document to memorialize the terms and conditions of standalone basic local telephone service in competitive wire centers. In sum, my motion proposes to issue a tentative implementation order clarifying the following issues related to the reclassification order. First, the application of the product guide in competitive wire centers. Second, that Verizon's carrier of last resort or caller obligation. Third, that Verizon's residential account data reporting requirements. And fourth, the suspension termination of service rules applicable in competitive wire centers. As an example, my motion proposes to clarify that the product guide does not trump Verizon's statutorily based caller obligation that was affirmed in the reclassification order, and that Verizon cannot, and I would repeat, cannot contractually remove this obligation.
I would just note this morning that we are aware that in the product guide for Verizon, there is language that may suggest that that is possible. What we are affirming this morning is that Verizon is not able to contract away their COLA obligations, so we want to be clear on that here this morning. I believe the clarification in these areas is necessary to facilitate the implementation of the reclassification order and to achieve a more efficient transition of basic service to the competitive service in the relevant wire centers. Therefore, I move that the Office of Special Assistance prepare a tentative implementation order consistent with this motion, that the tentative implementation order shall be served on all parties of record of the above captioned dockets, and that the comments filed in response to the tentative implementation order will be due no later than 10 days from the date of entry of the order, and reply comments shall be permitted. Excuse me, no reply comments shall be permitted. And fourth, if no adverse comments are timely received, the tentative implementation order shall become final.
Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Whitmer. Any further discussion?
You're going to make me repeat my statement?
No, but I'm asking.
I respectfully dissent.
I do have a statement I want to make for the record. I share the concerns about replacing our regulations governing telephone service with Verizon's product guide, particularly as it may involve Verizon's VoiceLink wireless service compared to today's wireline service in competitive and non-competitive wire centers. However, the Commission is not deciding today that Verizon can replace wireline service with VoiceLink. With regard to the procedure for implementing the Commission's March 4, 2015 order, I agree that the Commission should err on the side of providing multiple opportunities to be heard, but there are instances like today when the press for implementation prevents that. Today's decision focuses on the procedures and issues the Commission must resolve to implement the Commission's March 4, 2015 decision to reclassify Verizon's wire centers. The Commission's task now is to make that decision work for consumers and for competition. Consequently, I prefer to focus on the future for consumers and competition rather than the Commission's prior decision. My support for this motion must not be construed as a departure from my previous dissent on the substantive disposition of the reclassification petition. I believe then and maintain today that the Commission's decision was not legally sound. However, the passage of time and the absence of appeals has made that decision the rule of law in Pennsylvania. So for that reason, I will be voting aye. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
The motion passes 4-1, noting the dissent of Commissioner Cawley.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, that does conclude the presentation of agenda items.
Thank you. I would like to note that we are, once again, having a Memorial Day observance, and I invite everyone to stay afterwards for this brief program. And then after that, there will be an open house in the executive chambers to just allow me to take an opportunity to greet and thank you for your support of me. And so with that, I will close.
Just one thing, I understand that the visitors to executive chambers can get their identification badges now.
Yes.
To avoid a bottleneck later.
Yes. Thank you very much. And with that, nothing further coming before us, I will close out the meeting.